Hello, I am Riyasha Shrestha, and today I am going to present about inclusive language and learning environment in context of early childhood education. Introduction. Inclusive language and learning environments are the factors of quality education for children, which are crucial for establishing a warm and encouraging learning environment for all learners despite their abilities, backgrounds, and ideas. All children have different ages, interests, preferences, skills, and learning styles. Inclusive learning environments can support children's learning growth and engagement as well as provide a sense of belonging and establish strong social relationships. Inclusive language serves as a basis of developing good communication among children, educators, and families. Most crucially for children with special needs, it helps them both socially and cognitively, such as for expressing needs and ideas and getting support and cooperation from others. Educators or caregivers who support by building positive relationship with children can reduce the stress level or hormones which alter neurobiology of the brain. Thus, a child may struggle to cope with stress and to learn if he or she is not supported with inclusive language. The key topics of this presentation include disabilityism and ableism with a particular focus on inclusive language and learning environments for children. Key terms. Discriminatory behavior is an act of unfair treatment to someone based on their ability. Neurodiversity is the concept that people's brains are unique and the way they function and process information is also varied. Inclusive language is the language expression that recognizes, respect, and acknowledge every person regardless of their background, experiences, and perspectives. Accessible environment is an environment that is designed or adjusted to accommodate children's unique preferences and objectives in order to provide them with adequate assistance without any limitations or barriers. Disableism and ableism. Disability in early childhood is a varied concept which is impacted by social environmental elements in addition to medical considerations such as child's physical, mental, emotional, and social development. Disableism and ableism are related mainly to social factors and both can be considered as discriminatory behaviors. Definition. Ableism. Ableism is a practice of considering or prioritizing able-bodied people than people with disability. According to Smith 2023, it is a group of attitude and behavior typically originating from the idea that individuals and disability must be somehow fixed, whereas disableism is a belief which indicates people with disability are inferior to other people. People with Disabilities 2023 define discrimination as the notion that the individual with disabilities are less valuable than others, as well as the negative attitudes and actions directed towards them. Some examples of ableism are believing that neurotypical milestone objectives and outcomes must be met by all children in order for them to demonstrate a good level of development in the same manner and at the same time. Not establishing accessible environments and resources for children with physical, sensory, or cognitive challenges in early childhood settings. Some example of disableism can be assuming that someone is not sufficiently competent if they lack verbal communication or move in ways they are seen normal is an example of making assumptions of incompetence. Intentional biases may take place. Educators who believe that children with disabilities are less likely to learn or reach a specific developmental milestone that can result in lower expectations and fewer opportunity for the child to achieve success. How does disableism and ableism influence inclusivity in early childhood? Fair outcomes, participation, accessibility, and engagement are all essential aspects of inclusive education. Access means that children with disabilities can attend mainstream schools. but only being allowed in though is inadequate. Schools must adapt to allow all the children to learn and develop relationship with one another, resulting in equitable outcome for all. According to Cologan 2015, the foundation of Blaise conceptions of inclusive education is deficit theory, which views diversity and inclusivity as dividing people into normal and subnormal categories that require fixing or caring. Broad difficulties to inclusive education arise from this approach towards diversity. Disabilism and ableism fail to hear the voices of children with disabilities. Consequently, children and their families frequently move away from the mainstream educational path. Person's first language. Person's first language, such as person with disability, recognizes the person itself over the disability. Person's first language addresses ableism by highlighting a person's entitlement to an identity that transcends the impairment. For example, a person's first language might use the words person with disability rather than disabled person. Other example consist of using person who uses a wheelchair rather than wheelchair-bound person, individual with Down syndrome rather than Down syndrome person with hearing loss rather than deaf person. Child diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder ADHD, dyslexia, dypraxia, dysgraphia, and autism spectrum disorders combined with other medical illness. Despite not being a recognized medical diagnosis, some people have accepted the phrase and used it to define themselves, such as a person with neurodiversity. Considering a person's disability shouldn't define them, the focus should always be on them. Thus, we prevent assumption and the continued existence of prejudices by using person's first language. This contributes to the development of environment that is rich in empathy and compassion for all children in our care. Practices for inclusive language and learning environments. When educators collaborate with families and other professionals and make well-informed judgments about the curriculum, inclusive practice takes place. Educators should model respect communication for all children, such as using a person's first language, active listening, and thoughtful responding, and also incorporate languages that reflect all cultural backgrounds, religions, and abilities of all children in care. Educators should examine what needs to be introduced or modified when altering the physical environment to accommodate a child with disabilities so that the student can participate in daily activities and experience as independently as possible. For example, using visual aids like interactive flowcharts could assist children with communication or learning difficulties learn and take part in daily tasks and routines. Alternative methods of accessing educational materials or activities are typically necessary for learners with disabilities. Using Universal Design for Learning, UDL can assist teachers in structuring their lessons plans so that students can complete a variety of tasks to ensure all students understand the guidelines of the learning. Tasks to demonstrate the learning, and educators need to collaborate in association with families and transdisciplinary teams to understand children's development and create broad strategies and programs that meet the unique needs of the child. In conclusion, ensuring that all students, regardless of their abilities or development, receive a high quality education requires the development of inclusive language and learning settings. Through understanding and tackling discrimination against individuals with disabilities, educators can promote a sense of inclusivity for all. Respecting every child as an individual, regardless of their disability, is mostly achieved through the use of person-first language. Furthermore, using inclusive methods ensures that all children have access to education and may develop, such as working with families, modifying course materials, and utilizing universal design for learning. It can be achieved to develop inclusive learning settings that benefit all students and enhance their educational experience by prioritizing inclusion and advocating for the rights of children with disabilities. As an educator, by celebrating diversity and developing an accepting society that helps every child to develop holistically. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the rest of the day.